Hello everybody, welcome to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. You already know who I am. This is Game Changers. Again, like I said last week, a new feature. We'll take two players from each team that could change the game. It is West Ham versus Fulham. It's the first game this season that I feel West Ham should get the 3 points, that we should impose ourselves on Fulham. They've got a lot of weak areas, particularly in the width, particularly in front of that back four that West Ham need to exploit. It doesn't mean that you can write off Fulham at all. I do believe they've made a few good additions. They brought in Anguissa, who I think is a really, really good number 8 with good passing range. I think Mitrovic, player from the air, is unbelievable. His movement, his link-up play as well has improved since he was last in the Premier League. So he's a player that you have to look out for. I like what Scott Parker is trying to do as a neutral, but there are so many defensive lapses in terms of organisation and pressing that midfield too high that it's a perfect game for West Ham in some respects to exploit. It's a perfect game for a certain someone, in my opinion, to start. So we shall see, and it'll be interesting for me. I've always said this is an acid test for Moyes. You know, we've put in great performances against teams that we didn't expect to get results against. We've picked up a decent amount of points given the fixture list. This is the game that West Ham have to go in, impose ourselves, get 3 points, and show that we can deal with these smaller teams. You know, Fulham are a little bit of an exception. They will try and press West Ham. It does fit into our style of play where we can counter-attack them. So there will be opportunities. But certainly this month, when you've got Fulham, Aston Villa, Sheffield United, I expect West Ham to start really picking up points and pushing ourselves up the table, because I do believe the way we've performed this season, we deserve to be in that top half. So let's get into it. I've identified first and foremost the Fulham game changers. So let's start with this man. So really, it was a little bit of a toss-up between him and Lookman, who's coming from Leipzig. And obviously, Lookman has got that ability to turn on the shoulder, plays a little bit central, will stretch the West Ham defence, could be a problem area for Balbuena. But I've gone with Antonee Robinson. And we were looking at him, in fact, in that transfer window. And he's a great attacking fullback. He gets forward, he bombs on, he's got pace. And he seems to have really transitioned to the Premier League quite well, particularly in Scott Parker's system where he likes to push those fullbacks on. He's put a number of decent deliveries into the box, and every bit of Fulham's play comes through the width first and foremost, and they look to get deliveries in, and they allow that front three to become a little bit more central. So, yeah, they'll start with a 4-3-3, but this is where the width comes from. It is Antonee Robinson, and I think it's an area that West Ham need to nullify from both sides. You've got Aina on one side, who scored a goal last week, and you've got Robinson on this side, and they'll look to play through them. They'll look to put in deliveries through them as well. West Ham have to nullify it. Obviously, the benefit of having a 3-4-3 system, and when we kind of revert to that 5-4-1 in defence, means that you can nullify it, means that you can double up on those wings. And it's not just really about nullifying Antonee Robinson. It's about nullifying him and then getting beyond, which is why I've identified one West Ham player that can do that. But I think it'll be a threat all game, if I'm honest. He'll look to link up with Lookman. They'll play. They'll try and get in behind West Ham. They'll try and stretch it, which is typically how you try and stretch a low block. The issue could be that if West Ham do press high, that we do exploit space in behind, and then possibly you've got Robinson can bomb on and get behind a little bit more often. But definitely watch out for him, because I think the quality of his deliveries, his pace, it is going to cause West Ham some issues. And yeah, you know, I think fair play to him. He's come up the leagues. He's done really, really well, and I think Fulham offensively have looked a little bit better with him in the side. So that's definitely someone that we need to watch out for. This man is absolutely crucial to Fulham, and he really needs no introduction. I really, really rate Aleksander Mitrovic, and I think he's been a fantastic goal scorer for Fulham since he's come in. He played at Newcastle, scored goals in the Championship last season. I believe he was one of the top scorers with 25 goals. You can't underrate his finishing ability, of course. His physical presence. I know he's a little bit of a man. He likes to put himself about. But what's really impressed me, particularly in this Fulham side, is his link-up play. And I don't know whether it's the right thing to try and play Mitrovic as a hold-up man and link up with the midfielders. And it's certainly that's something that fits in with Scott Parker's play. But he's shown that he can do it, and he's shown that he's got the quality. Now, I think West Ham can nullify that midfield, if I'm perfectly honest. I think if we sit deep, maybe if we put a double pivot in, it's going to be really, really hard. And Fulham don't have the midfield to get beyond and unlock West Ham, which may suggest that Mitrovic could be isolated at times. Now, the issue is through the deliveries of the wing-backs. Now, if Robinson and if Aina push up and they do find space and they do get balls into the box, Mitrovic is lethal when he's trying to get on the end of crosses. And It's a weird thing for me to see Scott Parker not play Mitrovic as a focal point in attack, rather as someone to introduce other players into the game, particularly from an offensive standpoint. But, you know, I think he scored a fantastic header against Leeds. He's still a really, really good finisher. And we talk about having a striker up front that can link up play and get in behind. Obviously, we've got that a little bit with Mikel Antonio. I mean, if we had Mitrovic in this side tomorrow, I'd be suggesting West Ham could definitely score a few goals. So you've got to watch out for him. You could see him get frustrated depending on how Fulham play. If West Ham try to press Fulham a little bit more than they have done in the past 2 games, possibly he gets the space, possibly the fullbacks push on, and possibly he gets a decent bit of delivery into the box and maybe he gets a shot off. And that's really what West Ham want to avoid. I think aerially we're fantastic anyway. I think Balbuena or Ogbonna are all good in the air. We could nullify him, but you never know. You can't switch off against Mitrovic. He could turn up at any point in the game and really change things. But I have been really, really impressed with his overall play as a neutral. And I think he just offers something different to that Fulham side. And even if he isn't scoring, he can keep the pressure on West Ham's back three by introducing midfielders, looking at Tom Kenny, looking at Nguisa pushing on from that 8 role. So yeah, he's definitely one to watch out for. But fingers crossed West Ham can deal with him. Now, on to the West Ham players. You've all been waiting for this. First and foremost, this man. Vladmir Coufal. Now, obviously, he's done a fantastic job. And I've said this before as well. Defensively, he's better than Fredericks. Offensively, he's got a bit more quality in terms of his crossing delivery. I mean, he's shown that against Spurs with decent delivery into the box, shown that against Manchester City for Antonio's goal. I really, really rate him. In this game, particularly down that left-hand side where you've got maybe Lookman to come out a little bit wider, Robinson to provide the natural width, he's going to have to do a real job on them. And my concern is that Lookman is able to isolate Balbuena if West Ham start to push up, and then he can get the better of him. And we've seen Balbuena has players, particularly off that kind of central left-hand side position of attack. So you're looking at Coufal to be defensively solid to support him. But I do believe he's got a massive job in terms of nullifying Robinson. I think if you can take him out of the game, if you can restrict the amount of delivery you can get into the box, Fulham will get frustrated. They'll have to come central at times. And I do believe that West Ham, with a low block, with 5 defenders as well, and 2 sitting midfielders, can really, really frustrate them. So from that perspective, defensively, he is crucial. The same goes for Arthur. But for both of them, really, and particularly for Coufal, going forward. Now, Robinson tends to get a little bit further forward, and I've seen him in a lot of offensive positions for Fulham. It's up for Coufal not only to nullify him, but to drag the ball forward, to put pressure on Fulham, to exploit the spaces in behind them. I've had this conversation constantly since the Liverpool game that is it a question that Sebastian Haller doesn't work hard enough? Is the system not working to him? This game has to be an opportunity to get quality delivery into Sebastian Haller. If you push Coufal up, if he exploits the space, you've got to back his delivery, and you've got to really get it on Haller's head. You've got to give it to his feet, and I back him from that terms of quality. I think it's a big game for Coufal. It's a big game for our wing-backs, in fairness. I think the way Fulham play, we can exploit them, but we need to see them more offensively, and we need to see them trying to link up the play with Sebastian Haller. And possibly, if Coufal and Masuaku push up and create natural width, you're going to allow Bowen and Fornals to come a bit central. That could improve the link-up play with Haller. So from both an offensive and a defensive point of view, both Coufal and Masuaku are really crucial to this game. And listen, here's the man that I would like to see start for West Ham against Fulham. It's of course Benrahma. It is of course. Now, Pablo Fornals, just as I've done this video, has been nominated for the Player of the Month and well deserved. I think he's been fantastic for West Ham. I think a lot of the stick he gets is a little bit unnecessary. I think players want him to be someone that he isn't, and he's often kind of looked at as a weak point. But what I would say against a team like Fulham, who do exploit spaces in behind, I think Fornals would find space anyway, if I'm honest. But it's really in terms of that midfield positioning that I do believe Benrahma would massively benefit from. Now, not only have you got the vacated space from Aina when he's pushing up, but if you actually look at Fulham's midfield, they don't play with a natural pivot, which is bizarre for me for a newly promoted team to not have a defensive player. Even the likes of Lamina are pushing on a little bit with that midfield 3. So it does give an opportunity for someone like Benrahma, who historically loves to come central, loves to find space, to get at the Fulham defence and create. And I think, particularly if West Ham push up and they allow Benrahma to come central, he will find so much space in this game. And I'm not going to make it too simple and say, well, he scored against a brilliant goal against Fulham in the Carabao Cup, play him again. There is that element to it, but when you actually watch that Fulham goal that he scored previously, it's exactly what I've said. Space in the middle, the defensive organisation for Fulham is poor. And I think the thing is with both Benrahma and Pablo Fornals, they're not necessarily going to get beyond players. Obviously, Benrahma's got fantastic dribbling ability. But technically, I'm looking at him to come central, to cause issues, to link up with Sebastian Haller, to play cute little passes. And one observation that I've had of this Fulham defence is they're so flat-footed. And every time a team tries to get runners in behind, you'd be looking at the likes of maybe Haller to use his movement a little bit more in this game. You'd be looking at maybe Bowen to stretch it. I believe Benrahma has got the quality to find both of them and to cause Fulham a lot of issues. But I do believe it is the game to start him. I do believe it's the game to start him. I've seen the press conference. I know Moyes has said, his match fitness isn't quite there yet, but I think this is the perfect game for him. And I think it's a perfect game for West Ham to start trying to work to Sebastian Haller's strengths a little bit more. And let's see. Let's see what happens, when we're a bit more offensive. We push up the wing-backs. We allow the likes of Benrahma to come central and find that space just in front of that back four. Let's see how West Ham play offensively. This is a huge test. It really, really is. And I'm not concerned. I am very confident going into this game, but I want to see Moyes be positive. I really, really want to see it. I don't think West Ham will dominate possession. Fulham are a possession-based side. Obviously, that's why they've pushed their midfielders up, why they try and keep ball just in front of opposition defences, but they leave so much space in behind. And West Ham are one of the best teams that I've seen in this league in terms of that transition from defence to attack. Again, but it's always the case with West Ham, and we've seen it before in previous games. When we bring numbers forward, when we push forward, you'll be also looking at the late run of Tommy Soucek as well to get in behind that Fulham defence or latch onto a second ball. I think West Ham can impose himself on this game. I think we can be positive that it comes down to that in-game management and it comes down to picking the right players. And listen, I believe Benrahma is the perfect player for this game. So thank you very much for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe to the West Ham Way YouTube channel. That was Game Changers. I will be back tomorrow with Writer's Block. That'll be on Saturday at 11 o'clock, as it always is, to discuss everything West Ham. And then the live watch-along, which will start at 7:30. So there'll be a little preview before, lineups, score predictions, etc. Obviously, the game kicks off at 8. And myself, Dennis, and Charles will be there. So once again, thank you very much, everybody. And until next time, take care.